What's up, legends? Yes, you read that title right. It hurts my heart to make this video. I really hate to add more fuel to the fire, but as a channel that focuses mostly on solo play, this impacts my channel's content heavily. It may even be good for my channel, but it doesn't matter, because for most players, it's a harmful change, and keep in mind one thing, this will heavily impact duo play and kind of impact trio play as well, so let's talk about it. What exactly has happened? Remember patch 1.0.3? That was the last major balance patch that affected dozens of weapons as well as a few tweaks to groups of less than 4 players. If you don't remember it very well, here were the key changes done to these groups. We unintendedly had non-linear scaling of the patrol spawns, so they didn't spawn as often as they should have when less than 4 players. The intention is that 1 player has 1/4 of the patrols compared to 4 players, but it used to be that they had 1/6. Balancing adjustment to patrol spawning, and patrol spawning has been increased when there are fewer than 4 players. The fewer the players, the bigger the change. For 4-player missions, there will be no change compared to before. The biggest noticeable change will be for solo players at higher difficulties. On a surface level, this looks alright, it seems fair. But sadly, these patch notes don't say the whole truth. The difficulty increase to groups of less than 4 players were far more increased than these patch notes led us to believe. To explain what was truly done behind the curtains, I'm going to show here a few clips from YouTuber Lux, or Luchus, I'm not exactly sure how to pronounce that, who's one of the main researchers behind an in-depth analysis of patrol spawning mechanics studies that went on to teaching thousands of Helldivers understand how enemy patrols and their spawn rate works, which personally elevated my skills as a solo Helldiver. We're gonna take a look here at a few clips from his most recent video, and we'll talk about them in parts. I'll also link Lux YouTube and the video in question in the description box below. Show some love to our researchers' hard work. Now let's hear it from the legend himself.
We're going to talk about the changes that they made to patrols in patch 1.000.300. And real quick, I'll just point out that the mechanics that we've outlined in our earlier videos and posts have not changed. As you do stuff on the map, patrol spawn rates increase. If you destroy all outposts, it increases spawn rates by a little bit. If you complete the main mission objectives, it increases patrol spawn rates by a lot. So once again, we used level 4 bots as our baseline and hopped into some solo, duo, and trio matches to see what the changed rates were. Here's what we found. Before the patch, a solo player would see a patrol every 4 minutes and 5 seconds. After the patch, it's now 2:45. 2 players would see a patrol every 3 minutes and 24 seconds. After the patch, it's now 2:45. 3 players would see a patrol every 3 minutes and 3 seconds. After the patch, it's, yep, you guessed it, 2:45. In case you're curious, that 2:45 number is just the 4-player patrol spawn rate. There is no scaling based on player anymore. Now, no matter how many players you have in the match, you just get the same rate that 4 players get. No matter what difficulty you're playing at, the 4-player spawn rate is now just the spawn rate for all squad sizes.
Now, I'd like to add here that he's showing numbers for a level 4 mission. For a solo player on Helldive difficulty game against a Terminid, we used to get a patrol every 99 seconds right out of the gate. That number is now brought down to 66 seconds, a 33% faster patrol rate. When you complete the primary objective on a planet, we now get a patrol every 18 seconds. That means hunters, chargers, bile titans every 18 seconds. But wait, because it actually gets crazier. As you reach the extraction point to try to flee with your samples, that 18 seconds gets brought down to 12 seconds. And if you manage to destroy the outposts or bug nests, that number is further brought down to 10 seconds. 10 seconds. Every 10 seconds you get a group of hunters, a group of brute commanders, or chargers, or bile titans, whatever. If you can't kill these groups within a 10-second mark, then you best believe you're about to be overwhelmed and stuck in an infinite loop. Now, most of the times I don't manage to destroy the nests, so it's 12 seconds most of the time, big whoop, 2-second difference. Honestly, I'll go as far as to say that it's doable against the Terminid. You can outplay them fairly straightforward, but the biggest problem in my opinion is against the Automaton. They have a different spawn rate window, but if you complete the primary objectives and are attempting to extract, you're getting a patrol every 20 seconds. And mind you, by the way, we're not talking about bug breaches or reinforcements here. Those also get thrown into play on top of this already tiny patrol window. In other words, if you're trying to extract, the game is going to be tossing hulks, berserkers, and devastators every 20 seconds at you, and then on top of that, reinforcement drops with more hulks, tanks, and possibly even factory striders. How can you compete?
Arrowhead said they wanted to make it so that one player has 1/4 the patrols compared to 4 players, but it used to be that it was 1/6. Still not really that, you know? If you're in a 4-player match and everybody's split 100% of the time, then yeah, each player gets 1 patrol, but that's not really how the game works. Like, you could be split, but you're rarely split all the time for the entire match. So this doesn't even make really any sense.
Now, what Luck is saying here maybe didn't make sense if you didn't read these fellas' research, so let me kind of simplify what he meant here. What he meant is that when you're playing solo play, you are getting a patrol sent towards you every few seconds, yeah? However, if you're playing in a group of 4 and you have 1 player here where I'm at, 1 over here in the northwest, 1 in the northeast, and 1 in the southeast, in 4 different places of the map, then this guy is getting 1 patrol, this player is getting 1 patrol, this player is getting 1 patrol, and this player is getting 1 patrol. However, if the entire team is together, let's say right here where I'm at, then guess what? This group of 4 players is only going to get 1 patrol. That's 4 players to handle a patrol. So that's actually done very easily. Now the same will apply to different numbers. If there's 2 players here together, we're only getting 1 patrol. And if there's 1 player on this other side of the map, he's also getting 1 patrol. If there's 3 players here, we're getting 1 patrol. If there's 1 guy on the other side of the map, again, he's getting 1 patrol. And most of the time, in my experience, the team is together. Usually the team will kind of split up a little bit, but generally it's like in group of 2s, or there's like a group of 3 and some lurker pushing objectives on the other side of the map. It never actually happens so that the entire team is split for the entirety of the game. Matter of fact, that's nearly impossible. Which means solo players will get the constant stream of patrols thrown at them to handle on their own, which was already a tough feat to overcome on your own.
Who is this change for? Like, who is out there being like, those damn solo players have had it too easy for too long? Like, solo was already the hardest way to interact with the game. A lot of playing solo came down to luck. Only certain loadouts really worked. You couldn't just take any old weapon into a solo game and expect the same amount of success that you would have in a 4-player game. It was unquestionably more difficult, and now it's even more so. They nearly doubled the spawn rates for solo. Like, that's insane.
Now here's a part that doesn't make sense to me. Arrowhead constantly slams down on the meta so as to attempt to shut it down and allow for different loadouts and builds to work all around. However, with this change, it actually does the complete opposite. It pushes solo players and duo players, by the way, don't forget that. This heavily impacts duo players as well, so if you're just chilling with your friend, you guys are taking L's too with this change, especially if you guys are split in the map. So it pushes players to double down on the meta loadout the less people there are on a team. So if I'm solo or in a duo, I'll have to hard focus meta loadouts or meta playstyle to be able to even somewhat hold my ground. Now you may be thinking, but bro, it's a co-op game, you shouldn't play alone. But why? Why does it matter? Why does the game punish you for playing alone? Or punish you for wanting to play with that one friend? Heck, why does it even punish you if you play with 2 friends? Why the push towards full groups? Why does it matter how many people the players choose to have fun with? It literally makes no sense to attempt to shut down the fun for solo and duo and trio players.
Does this improve the game? Like how does this make the game better? For whom is it better now? I just don't understand. They say that the non-linear scaling was unintentional, and I'm just like, who cares? It worked fine. In fact, I thought the scaling was really good before. Again, like, solo was legitimately very difficult, and the game got progressively easier at the same level as you added more players to your squad. Like 4 players was always the easiest, just because you have more options to deal with threats.
4 players is easier in nearly every sense. You have like 15 to 20 more lives, you've got 12 more stratagems, 4 per player, you've got more soldiers on the field, you've got less patrols if the group is sticking together, completing objectives are faster, you can gather more samples, you can diversify your builds. On the other hand, when you're fighting the automatons on your own, you've got every single one of them gunning you down, which is like oftentimes 10 to 15 bots trying to gun you down, and you don't even have the luxury of shooting enemies in the back on their weak spots, because as a solo player, they're constantly turned towards you. Now, I'm not here trying to talk poorly about groups. What I'm trying to say here is it was already a very difficult experience the less players you had on the team. So why step on them? Why make their experiences less fun?
And like with all the other problems that the game has, like why was this even put on the drawing board? I just don't understand their thinking here. Like I don't understand what problem they think they're fixing with this. I just don't see the average player having asked for this. I just don't know who this is for. Like, does this improve the game? I don't think so. You know, it's a PvE game. I don't care what, like, if I'm playing with my friends, I don't really care if some dude is soloing and like being successful. You know, it has no effect on me whatsoever. I soloed 9s a few times. It was really hard and I wasn't very successful. But now I don't really see myself trying to do that anymore unless they change it again somehow.
Now here's the thing, guys, I'm not making this video for me. I'm making this video for the regular gamer that enjoys being the lone wolf, or the players who just want to play with that one friend or 2 friends even. You see, for me this change is actually good, for my channel that is. You know why? Because now solo play is even harder. That means even less people can pull it off, making the content a bit of a more impressive feat. So for me, this is good because less people will manage to consistently pull off what I attempt to do, so it gives my videos a bit of an edge. It gives it a bit more value. But I hate this change. This change does nothing but try to push people into playing with groups of 4. It does nothing but make solo and duo play less viable and therefore less fun. And again, I'm not talking poorly about 4-man groups, but I've been playing lots of random matchmakings the past few days to finish off my samples, and I've got to say, the team wins like 95% of the games, and that's often with random people. I don't think I've ever lost a single Terminated World game yet, and I've played at least about 20. The only matches I've lost were in those new defense missions on the Automaton worlds, because we'd get a crap ton of Hulks and Factory Striders. So it's not just a problem that the game's difficult with less people, it's that it's terribly balanced at that. 4-player groups make the game nearly trivial, and now 2-man groups and solo players are going to be nearly impossible unless you abuse meta builds and meta playstyle, such as purposely avoiding all fights versus automatons. So I have one question for Arrowhead. What was the purpose of this change? What were we trying to accomplish here? There are so many bigger issues at play here. Why are we attempting to push the player off of certain match types? Anyways, I really hope to just come back to some gameplay videos here, guys. I'm not gonna lie, I've been pretty bummed out recently, so I apologize for, once again, the negative tone of the video. I'll catch you Helldivers on the next one. Peace out.